So, with the Charlie Kirk assassination, I've been asked by a few people if I was surprised, and the answer is no. Given the political climate, I understood the depths of the difference of philosophies. I understood the frustration. So, unfortunately, something like this doesn't surprise me. We know of at least two assassination attempts on Trump. There's probably been more than that that hasn't been publicized. I mean, if you're a public figure, you don't want to publicize, to get copycats, right? So, unfortunately, this type of stuff is actually somewhat common. We just don't hear about it very much. But unfortunately, like I said, it didn't surprise me. The celebration by some people kind of surprises me a little bit, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But like I've stated before, it's that nihilistic philosophy that the left has. They're frustrated. They want to withdraw. They want to get angry. They want to get violent. That's what happens when you don't perceive that you're capable of reasoning with other people. If you don't have the ability to reason or to be able to influence your environment in a positive way, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to withdraw. It's going to fit alongside with that nihilistic ideology that's being promoted. The right, by the way, has a similar problem. It's not as bad as it is on the left, but nonetheless, we saw what happened on January 6th, and I'm talking about the property damage that was done to the Capitol building. Yes, property damage is violence. It is a violation of the rights in this case. This is public property, so this is a violation of the taxpayers, right? So property damage, it doesn't matter if it's done by the right or by the left, if it's done by Antifa and BLM, that is also a form of violence. So it's not just an attack on the person. But anyway, with regard to the celebration, some of these people were celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. They're doing so because, first of all, they're locked in a bubble where, for whatever reason, they're so warped that they actually believe that that's okay to do, and they actually believe that that other people are like that. They're so far down their own little rabbit hole that they're really just delusional, and they're really taken far away from reality. The other part of that is again, it's an expression of a lack of self-efficacy. That is the lack of the perception of your ability, or those people's ability, to change and influence their environment or be able to reason with other people. If they believe that they're incapable of reasoning with other people, then violence seems to be like a solution. It seems like, well, if I can't reason with you, therefore force is going to be used, right? With regard to Tyler Robinson, the assassin, this is an individual who, was so far down that rabbit hole. He was a homosexual, essentially, but he was really warped in a really leftist, nihilistic version of that. I'm not going to go too much into detail. I'm not saying that people who are homosexual or violent per se. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that he was really far down a rabbit hole. And along with that nihilistic ideology, he believed that he was incapable of debating Charlie Kirk. So, if you don't believe that reasoning is possible, you can either withdraw or you can become violent. So unfortunately, that's why that happened. The problem isn't the rhetoric so much. It's the lack of a can-do attitude. It's the lack of critical thinking skills that are being taught in public education. It's the nihilism that's being pushed in pop culture. It's it's a lack of accountability and a person's ability to be self-sufficient. Like, people are not being held accountable correctly. It's the lack of an ability to think with reason and the ability and the belief that you can change your environment. That's the crux of this problem. And this political violence is not going away until we address that. It's not gonna be the right per se, the conservatives. They're going to solve the problem. They're just not as far gone as the liberals are. The conservatives are not, are actually in a sense kind of part of the problem. They're not as much of a problem, but they're a little bit of the problem. People need to learn how to think for themselves and learn how to be effective. They need to be effective in their lives where, you know, if you don't agree with somebody, it's not going to matter that much because it's not going to stop you from doing whatever you need to do to survive. If you don't agree with somebody, you at least have the belief that you have the ability to reason and debate with that person. Okay. And that means to have that belief and to have that attitude, you can't be nihilistic at the same time, because nihilism is just opposed to the rugged individualism that this country is based on.